Welcome back to another episode of In Good Company. We're your hosts,
Jeremiah
and Judah. For those of you that are listening, the only way to watch the full episode is to click the link down below and subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll be able to get the full episode and watch it, as well as get the newsletter, which is the menu with a playlist curated by Jeremiah. This week's going to be fantastic, as well as see all of our 5-star reviews. So please click the link down below where you can watch it. I'm stoked for this episode.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a good one. It's going to be pretty great.
A very talented individual.
Extremely talented guest today that has gone through a lot of stuff that we've gone through.
Yeah.
And championed it.
She's a true artist in every sense of the word.
Very much so. She kind of laid the groundwork for us to kind of do what we did.
For sure.
Right?
Take
your broken heart and turn it into art.
Turn it into gold.
Turn it into gold. All right. So for those of you listening, you're about to go out and you try your clothes on in the mirror and you're like, this just isn't it. And then you do a quick suit change. That was you today. We're watching Kill Bill 2 last night. Phenomenal movie, by the way.
Kill Bill's awesome.
So good.
Yeah.
And this guy had this crazy cowboy fit on. It was so good. And Jeremiah's like, that's what I'm going to wear tomorrow on the pod.
Yeah.
And then he comes out of his room just now. Totally different fit.
Well, just sometimes you picture something in your head and you put it on and you're like, no.
Yeah. And the thing is, you'll put it on and you'll be like, nah.
I won't commit to it. If I don't like it, it's coming off.
I had the same thing. I walked out today and our producer Courtney was there and I was like, these pants or the other pants? But I was already wearing the other ones. And she was like, definitely the other ones. I was like,
Oh, you had a different
pair of pants on.
I didn't
yeah.
know that. Okay.
And I was like, just something about them. I'm just not feeling them today.
And our guest came out looking like mad cool.
Like mad cool.
Yeah, so we had to up our game.
I literally was like, hallelujah, I put on the darker pants. I literally thought that. Well, anyway, I feel pretty great in my fit. You look pretty good in your fit.
This is like the Harry Styles fit.
It's swaggy.
Yeah.
The pants are just...
Like the colorways.
It's just great.
The pants are mad flowy.
It's great. Just great, great.
Probably my favorite pair of pants. I think my brother bought me these.
Xenia, right?
Xenia, yeah.
Yeah, those are incredible. You know what else is incredible this episode? So let's just get into these 5-star reviews. Yeah. What do you got this week?
Shit. You know what's not a 5-star? My damn Apple headphones, man.
Really?
I can't.
You were wearing those earlier.
Yeah, because out of necessity, I had no other headphones.
Why are they bad?
I can't take calls in them.
Why not?
People can't hear me when I talk to them.
So like the speaker from the ear to the mouth
doesn't
just
work. It doesn't work. Like nobody can hear me. The battery dies so quick. You get like 2-3 hours on those things and it's fried.
Really?
Yeah, they look cool, but they're not practical, really.
All right, well, I'm just...
they're just no bueno. I gotta figure something else out.
All right, so that's not a 5-star.
But my 5-star.
What's your 5-star?
My 5-star of the week is The Gentleman on Netflix, the TV series they just released.
Everyone is talking about
with
this.
Theo James. I liked it. It was enjoyable. Like if you've seen the movie, then you're definitely gonna like the show.
I loved the movie. The Guy Ritchie one?
Yeah. Guy Ritchie directs, I think, 75% of these episodes.
What?
So like season 1 at least of The Gentleman, I think most people enjoy.
Is it the same kind of story?
Same concept.
Storyline
same
world?
storyline. Yeah, same storyline.
Oh, I gotta watch this.
It's like the prequel to The Gentleman, how he got started in it.
What?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
I gotta watch it.
Yeah, Theo James is like a rock star right now. Like every girl's like crush.
Yeah, people are like, I'm watching The Gentleman. I'm like, I love that movie. And they're like, the TV show. I'm like,
TV show's dope.
what?
Yeah, the TV show's
All right,
dope.
well,
What's my 5 stars? What's your 5-star of the week?
My 5-star this week is Dear Love by Sarah Bahbah. It's a photography book with writing and some of the most incredible photos you'll ever see. It'll be in the newsletter with a link to it, and you can buy a version there. It's really incredible. And that name sounds familiar because that is our guest today, Sarah Bahbah. And we'll go into this book a little bit more later, but this link to buy it will be in the newsletter, to make sure to go grab it. It's definitely a 5-star. We asked Sarah why the book had 3 different prices on it, and it's a sliding scale price. So there's a version you can buy for $300 and then $200 and $100. And the reason there's a sliding scale is because she wants people to be able to buy it regardless of their financial position. So
there's a $60 option.
There's a $60 option for this book, which I think is absolutely incredible. She just wants people to have it and to experience everything in it. There's so much great content in here that we'll dive into, but definitely Dear Love by Sarah Bahbah, 5-star. The link will be in the menu to buy it.
It's like a love letter to herself, but it's like a love letter to anybody.
Oh, it's so good. Definitely a 5-star, 6-star if I could. Go buy it. And our movie of the week is what?
My movie of the week, kind of a series of movies by the same director. He's out of Hong Kong. I've been going down this rabbit hole of a lot of these not new, but foreign directors that kind of get lost. Because
new to you.
New to me.
That's the cool thing. You watch an old movie like that, it is new to you.
His name is Wong Kar-wai, and he's out of Hong Kong. And the movies I saw this week were In the Mood for Love, Fallen Angels, and Chungking Express.
So what's the one you're using for your movie of the week? All of them?
They're all good. They're all him expressing a love story or a romantic story through like One's kind of an assassin story. The other one's two different couples who are living in the same apartment complex. They fall in love together. One couple from one relationship falls in love with the other couple from the other relationship.
Whoa.
And so, yeah, he's just really unique storytelling. I know Quentin Tarantino gets a lot of his inspiration from Wong Kar-wai. A lot of, I think, American directors get a lot of their inspiration from him. Maybe probably directors globally. Really good.
So for the first time, we're going to have a 3-movie list.
It's a package deal.
It's a package deal.
My movie of the week is just go see a Wong Kar-wai movie. Whether it's Chungking Express, Fallen Angels, or In the Mood for Love. I really did enjoy In the Mood for Love. Chungking Express is like his golden boy. Like that's everyone's favorite of his. I liked it, but I kind of liked In the Mood for Love a little more.
Well, we're going to list them all so you guys can go.
There's more work for Judah.
Yeah, more work for me.
What's your song of the week?
My song of the week is one I have not been able to get enough of. It's Conquer the Heart by Orville Peck and one of our guests we've had on, Nathaniel Rateliff. It is so incredible.
It's got this old school ring to it, a little Elvis.
It's, Conquer your heart.
Reminiscent of Elvis.
It's definitely an old school type of song. It's so good. Orville Peck is awesome. And obviously, Nathaniel Rateliff is,
you can play it anywhere,
great. It is
honestly.
so good.
It's
I love
great.
the timeless kind of feel that it has. And I like how music is going back to that. It's going back to the roots. It's going back to older music. And yeah, Conquer Your Heart is so good. It'll be in the playlist. Curated by this guy. But the only way to get that is in the newsletter. So go to the Patreon, subscribe, and you'll get it. Our guest today is a pioneer, a badass, super confident.
She's a culture creator.
She's been imitated. She's been
plagiarized.
She is a photographer. She is a writer. She is one of the most creative people I've ever met.
She's a modern Renaissance woman. She's inspired some of your favorite artists.
Yeah, you've likely seen her prints online
For sure.
or in studio galleries around the world. She's been featured in magazines. She's directed music videos. She's just absolutely incredible. Sarah Bahbah. Well, thank you for coming. We're both super appreciative of you being here. I've been a fan of your work long before I met you through our friend Sonia. But yeah, we're highlighting your book, Dear Love. This is like 10 years in the making, right? A full decade of art. Mm-hmm. What was your moment where you knew you wanted to be a photographer or like that medium to like speak your voice?
It's not something like I ever wanted, to be honest. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to be a photographer, or I'm going to be a writer or a director. I think from a young age, I used to sit with myself a lot and dream of a world different to the one I was living. And as I got older, I needed an outlet to process all of that. And I really got into the arts and the drama. I guess when I first picked up a camera was in high school. And I would take photos of my subjects to paint them. So I used to paint first. And then I got too impatient for painting. And I really loved capturing everything. And I started this blog, which led me down the road of doing music photography, and which led me to do festivals, which led me to do an art series. So it was like everything was kind of like an intuitive process. But photography, if I'm being honest, was my outlet for like freedom, because I grew up in such a conservative household and I had a curfew and I lived with my parents up until I moved cities. So I had to be home at 10. And if I told my parents I was working by taking photos, then I had freedom to be out till midnight. And I would go to these music festivals and get very, very drunk and roll around with friends and take photos of them. And it became a way of finding freedom in such a restrictive upbringing. So
is photography your first public form of art?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, aside from the art I painted in high school, yeah.
Do you have any of that?
What?
Do you have any of that
I
art
do,
still?
yeah. I do.
want to see some of it.
Oh, no. I mean, I wasn't bad. I was actually really good at painting, but it's just I haven't done it in like a decade, so I'm not sure I'm any good at it now.
At what point with your art did you start shooting? Because a lot of this is like heartbreak and love and everything.
Yeah.
Were you shooting just life around you? And then at a certain moment, you're like, I want to create art or like specifically shoot this series of things from this experience I had. Yeah. When did that happen?
So I was like 5 years into music photography and people started doing their own blogs from Perth, my hometown. And I was like, wait, everyone's just doing what I'm doing. So how do I be different? And so I decided to go to these music festivals, which were like 3-day camps in the bush, by the way. They weren't like a...
What is the bush?
The bush is like in Australia, like a forest.
Like the wilderness.
Got it. Okay.
The wilderness.
The wilderness.
Yeah. Like, we call them like bush doofs, which is like raves anyway. So I would go to these festivals, and instead of taking like 300 photos of every single person, I would just go with the intention to take 1 or 2 that captured the whole experience. And I did that over a period of a year. And I created this series called The Wild Ones, which is in the book. And it was my way of refining my art and not just shooting like quantities and quantity. I really wanted to create quality pieces. And so when you look at that series, you'll see there's like an intense, like sun-drenched, like sky and like people rolling around on drugs, but it's like beautiful and like
very intentional.
Yeah. And it just felt different shooting it that way than going and taking a million photos. So that's kind of what started the excitement around doing these like refined series. And then over time, I decided that's actually what I want to do. And then I released Sex and Takeout in 2014, which was like really fun. And we can talk about that if you want. But...
That's like the more risque version of our logline. Sex and Takeout.
Pretty much. I mean, you're like a Renaissance woman, really.
I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, I just say because photography is just one of the mediums that you use. It's for your storytelling, for your art. Like you direct, you do so many different things.
That's not one of my known skills.
With all of the things that you're doing, how do you focus on any one of them with all the things you have going on?
I'm very intentional with how I use my time in my days. So I set myself up on Sunday for the week. And I know like on Mondays, I'm working on my writing project. On Tuesday, I'm working on my new art series on Wednesday. And I kind of just divide my time based on that. But I also try not to, and I've learned this the hard way, to overbook myself. So I've really like slowed down in my process of creating because I did get burnout from this book and it knocked me out for a year. So I'm only finally now coming back into like, oh, I have so much creative energy. I need an outlet. Let me like go and make this thing. But I have so many other things already in the works that I can't like go too crazy because I realize like you have to have like unity mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally before you can get back into anything.
Yeah, before you get like burnout.
Yeah.
That was actually one of my questions was your work is so deeply personal. How do you recharge after giving so much to the world? Is it solitude? Is it being around your friends? What does that look like for you?
It's definitely changed over the years because when I was younger and I hadn't really learned boundaries within myself, I would really like dive so headfirst into the darkness and I wouldn't leave my house. I would self-sabotage. I would drink and stare at the ceiling and I would feel the weight of the world on me during my grieving process. And I would sit in it for too long. But that's how all of my art was created. It was like allowing myself to sit in it, not knowing I would come out, but my intuition always pulled me out eventually. So I would find myself in this state of despair and it'd been like months and months of processing and trying to get out of a situation that was causing me harm mentally or emotionally, physically, whatever. And I would take myself out of it. One time I spontaneously was like, I'm going to Sedona and I turned off my phone. I deleted Instagram and I went because I was really depressed. I was probably the lowest I'd been in a really long time. And I just switched off and I meditated and I tried to find a shaman. I literally walking the streets asking like the locals, hey, do you guys know anyone who like is a shaman?
Can help me.
And I eventually found someone, but don't trust strangers because this guy felt me up and it was weird. And yeah, anyway, but
stranger danger.
Yeah, that's another story. But basically I would take myself out and then I would eventually recuperate, restore, feel like I'm ready to create, and then I would go and shoot, and then I would give it to the world, and then I would literally switch off again for a few months just to heal, and then I would go back out.
Isn't it crazy? The phases of darkness or the phases of discomfort is like you decline, and then like you transition into expansion afterwards, like growth afterwards. But if you don't allow yourself to feel it, to lean into it, to sit in it, and obviously like sitting in it is different for everybody, right? And I feel that like you don't want to sit in it too long sometimes because it can overwhelm you.
Yeah.
It can actually work against you. But I feel like the greatest things come from the darkness in a way.
If you can champion that hard thing, kind of like the Carrie Fisher quotes, take your broken heart and turn it into art.
Yeah.
I mean, dear love is
literally, it's that.
So is that like, because I feel like a lot of people, they will go through those hard times and they don't have that creative juice or that idea to write a book or do a series of photography. Or I have a poetry page that Sonia convinced me to start posting.
That's so cute. I want to see it.
Sonia likes them. So I guess it's called a collection of written words. There's some decent ones. But when you're in those hard places, whether that be breakup or other things you've gone through that we won't talk about, but in those moments, do you have inspiration at all in it? Or once you get out of it, you're like, you know what, now I can turn this into a series, or I can write a poem, or when you're in it, do you have any idea that like it's going to be beneficial?
Oh, I mean, when I'm in it, I'm writing the whole time. So I'm like, because my thoughts are so chaotic, because my entire life I've struggled with feeling unsafe. And whenever I feel like my safety or my stability supply is a term I coined in therapy.
Say it again.
My stability supply.
I love that.
So whenever I feel like my stability is being taken from me, I would begin to spiral or become obsessive, and I would reimagine my situation a million times over in a million different ways, of like the things that I wish I said in those moments to feel safe, or the things that I wish I said to someone else to feel like I had any kind of power or control. And so I like reimagine it. And when I'm in that process, I'm on my sofa, I can't leave. I'll stare at the ceiling for ages and I won't talk to anyone. I won't see anyone, because I'm just writing and I'm writing and I'm writing, and I'm trying to make sense of the chaos. And so all of those one-liners that you read in the book is from those moments.
So within your photography through the series, those captions on the photos are all from your life that you wrote.
Yeah.
And then how do you take those and like note when you see the photograph, do you know that's the quote for the photo?
So I write first, and then I find talent I want to work with, and I make sure they understand the situation.
So you give them a little detail or background of what?
And I show them the subtitles. And when I'm shooting, I'm recreating scenarios that I've lived through, but I'm romanticizing them and I'm making them really fucking pretty. And so that's what you see when you look at the photos. It's just like recreating a world where things were different, or it's recreating actual moments.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like it's such a healthy way of the recreation. I feel like people that don't turn it into art, and it's really hard too, so it's not like anyone whoever is listening that hasn't done that. Like a lot of people will hold on to that thing and it's trauma.
Yeah.
And it's a thing that's really hard to get over, rather than you basically just said you take this hard thing you went through and you turn it into something beautiful. Yeah. Which is like fascinating.
It also takes quite a bit of vulnerability.
Oh, it's so much vulnerability.
I feel like that's something me and Judith talked about. I think for men, it's hard, given, I think, male culture maybe, for us to be vulnerable. I think we've kind of been raised in a way where like alpha competition and like the vulnerability side, the soft side, like getting to know you, know yourself, like that's a side like I've just allowed myself the capacity to understand.
And the confidence to express it.
For sure. And so I just think it takes a lot of courage to be able to like pour all that into a book. And I don't know, your pictures have a way of like speaking this honesty of the moment. I think it's really unique.
Thank you.
And I think it's relatable to a lot of people.
Encouraging, I feel like.
Yeah, because it's the things people wish they could say in these moments of like heartbreak and anger and grief, but they don't say it because the thoughts are too taboo, or you don't want to be too angry or too crazy or whatever. So I just
express yourself.
I just put it out there because for me, it's in the past, my art was protest behavior. It was my way of getting back at someone for hurting me, which in hindsight, obviously that's not like super healthy, but it was in the way that it allowed me to process what I was experiencing. And at the end of the day, it had nothing to do with them. It had everything to do with me and what I was internalizing. And so...
Yeah, it's not like you're putting this photo is dedicated to this fucking guy. Right. You know what I mean? Like they may know and they're probably like, damn, I got some stuff I got to do, you know, hopefully, right?
This asshole.
Yeah.
I'll be like CC, whatever their Instagram.
Right.
Just savage. But no, I don't do that anymore. I was like, that's old me.
That's the old me. Okay. We all have an old me version, don't we?
Oh my God. My old me definitely didn't write poetry. Okay. When was the first time you fell in love?
Oh, first time I fell in love was, well, I thought it was love. But it wasn't love. It was lust and manipulation and all of the things you think are love when you're falling in love for the first time.
Yeah, they read the same.
Yeah. It was in 2014 with this musician, and maybe I don't want to say never date a musician, but never date a musician. I think artists are just fucking crazy. We're all fucking crazy. But yeah, it was fast. And I went through the process of being love bombed and then isolated from my community and then nitpicked at. And
isolated because he didn't want you to be in that community? Like he pulled you out of it.
Yeah, I mean, he is a narcissist, and I know that for sure. And that word gets thrown around, but this is a very dangerous man. And yeah, I thought it was love, so I made a lot of excuses. And
So reflecting back on it now,
yeah,
you were like, not so much love.
it wasn't love at all. And I know that because I've been in love now, and I know what that looks like, and it's very different. It's very beautiful.
Do you think, I mean, this is just for me, have been in like 2 like serious relationships, each one after I'm like, whoa, I wasn't in love before. There's like this evolution of how much you can care about someone. And you realize, at least for myself, the last relationship I was doing all these things, that couldn't have been real love. That was lust, or that was being naive or whatever.
Yeah.
Do you feel that way with new relationships? Because maybe they're healthier than the last one, or you're grown compared to the last relationship. I feel like everyone I'm in, it's like I'm in love harder than the one before that. Is that just me? Like the way that you love evolves? Am I crazy?
I don't know. You're asking me at the worst time, so I can't really.
You don't have to get into that.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like love's not an easy thing to navigate, I think.
I'm scared to fall in love again, to be honest.
You're scared to fall in love.
Yes, I am. I feel
Really?
and that's one of the things that took a while after my second previous girlfriend. The breakup sucked. And I like started writing. I mean, granted, good things to the Carmi thing, similar to like your experiences. It sucked so bad. I wrote a screenplay that I'm shooting. I wrote poetry. Like these really great things came from it. But for the longest time, being on Raya and going on dates and stuff, it's way easier to go on a date and have fun than to like be vulnerable and open up to someone, knowing that there is a possibility that your heart's going to get ripped out and you're not going to want to move.
I hear you. But I also think if you allow yourself and your past relationship the time to heal and go through every aspect of it, I go all in when I know, like, I'm not going to go into too much detail on this, but I did recently have a breakup. And I spent the past month literally going through every single photo and video with this person and just making albums for myself. And then I also like deep dived into where it went wrong and my part in it and what I did to cause this relationship to have a part in it ending. And then I wrote them letters, but I didn't send them. And yes, I also went to New York and had a crazy bender, but that's like, you know, it's part of the process.
Yeah.
And I allowed myself to do all of it. And then I got home from New York and the weight of this breakup really hit me hard. And so I spent every day crying and writing and crying and writing and crying and writing. And then by Sunday, I felt like, oh, I feel good. And
it feels like the best playbook ever to like get over.
When you say writing, or journaling, getting thoughts out.
Yeah, I had to, because my biggest strength and my biggest weakness is I'm very forgiving. And because I'm forgiving, I always look at people and I hold them in the highest regard and I only try and focus on the good. But if I'm trying to move on, I can't do that. So I wrote my angry list and I literally sat with myself and I was like, okay, these are the reasons why you can't break no contact. Because like it's so easy to just be like, hey, I miss you, come over. But I don't want to do that because we made a decision together and we have to commit to it, you know?
It's respecting yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah.
The no contact thing is hard. I would tell Jeremiah, like, dude, thinking about texting her, he'd be like, Judah, do not do it. And the only thing that will come from it is bad things.
Yeah.
You moved on, keep moving. Don't text her.
We both got out of relationships
I was like, okay.
around the same time, like a year and a half ago or so. And he would be like, I'm thinking about text. I'm like, do not do it. I'm like, bro, no contact. It has to be nothing. You got to go on with yourself, go on with your life.
And it's hard because this person was at one point, like for all of us, the most important person in our life. And so like, you don't want it to end and you want to hold on to every part of it. But if you can do the work without having to reach out to them and like really process and internalize like how you got here and then take it to your therapist. And I still haven't had a therapy session, but I'm like, not about this anyway, but I feel like I don't need it because I have all the tools now to heal from a breakup.
Yeah.
Like this book, all the tools are in this fucking book, but I'm not like going to open my book. Like I made it, so I know what to do, you know?
Yeah, you're like therapy session. Let me read my own stuff here.
Yeah, remind me how badass I am. No.
Dr. Bahbah.
I think the most interesting thing you said so far is separating love from what looks like love, but isn't. I'm like applying that right now in my head. I'm like, damn, I don't even really love that girl. I think sometimes it's hard to recognize which one is which.
Yeah.
When it's like lust and things that are toxic can be intoxicating.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you love it even though it's so bad for you and you know it's bad for you and you just stay in it because of that intoxication. It's very strange.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And I don't know the exact science, but when you're in lust, your body releases, I think it's dopamine. And so you get addicted to that high and you rely on that person for your daily dose of validation. Like, oh, they just text me, you get a dose of, it's serotonin or dopamine. I don't know which drug it is, but it's one of them. And which chemical, sorry, which it is a drug. But when you're in love, I think you're not reliant on these hits of like your body's chemicals going crazy. You feel safe. And you feel equanimity in a way that's just contentness and it's consistency. And you're not chasing these highs and you're not hitting these rock bottom lows. I think love is truly like equanimity. It's like stable and it's pure contentness. And I think that's the difference.
Yeah, mine was lust.
Yeah, I think
It's a great explanation.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just how I'm approaching it now because I've had all of it and I can see the difference. And I know what I want my long-term life partnership to be like. And it is like being so in love that you feel so safe and there's so much trust and contentness.
Do you think it's hard? I feel like you'd have to date someone or be with someone who's just super confident in themselves because you are very doing this, doing that, doing that. If there was any insecurities on the other end, like jealousy or whatever, I feel like it'd be really hard. You need like a champion, someone who's like, you're badass and that's okay. She's going to do her thing. Probably hard though.
Yeah.
You say hype man.
Hype man, yeah. I need a hype man, but I think I've decided that I don't want to date anyone who isn't as driven or ambitious or has their life together. Like we have to be on the same level or they have to be above. I can't do anymore. I just can't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense though.
Yeah.
If you don't have someone who's chasing stuff and headed in the right direction, how do you end up at the end together if you're just going separate places, want different things? And
as long as there's like a want, there has to be a want. Like they have to want it and they have to work every day for this bigger life. Because I dream so fucking big. And so like, yeah.
I feel like I need that too. Do you feel like you create better when you're in a relationship or when you're single and you have more time to yourself?
Definitely when I'm single. Yeah.
And is that a thing you juggle with moving forward with like wanting a relationship? Or are you good with the seesaw kind of?
I think I'm going to have to reach a point in my life where I have to choose one or the other because I realize if I am in a healthy, loving, stable relationship, I'm not going to be making good art. And I'm not going to self-sabotage either to make good art. So I actually have a new project I'm working on which doesn't require my heart to be broken and it's fucking genius. And I can't wait to share it with you guys one day. So I want that to be the next thing. And if I can make this next project as great as I see it in my head, then I don't think I'll have to sacrifice love or anything in order to still create.
Still create. That's interesting. I mean, I think that's something I battle with. I'm like, damn, like me single, I can just go and dream huge and dream big and go and try and accomplish these things.
Yeah.
And that's your focus.
That's my focus, and it's not being compromised by like me wanting to spend time with somebody. I have this fear it's going to pull me away from it. I can't completely give my all to it. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but not everyone's like that. Some people work better with a significant other. Maybe we just haven't experienced yet. Can even lift you up in a way you haven't experienced yet, right?
Yeah.
Like, that could be another side of that if you meet Mr. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I think it is hard to be with an artist, to be honest. I know it's difficult. And I go tunnel vision on my projects. And I think it would require someone to be patient and also be as busy.
You have this ball of energy and it's a real thing. You have this thing and boyfriend takes up energy, friendships take up energy. And my mom always says you can't pour from an empty cup. So if you're giving all your energy out to these things, like your art will be diluted or your relationship will. Or
Yeah. Something has to give. Something has to give. And
that's what you always say too.
So something has to be sacrificed.
yeah, that's very real.
And if
like
both parties can't acknowledge that or aren't willing to understand that, then it's just not going to
Yeah,
work.
being with someone's like, cool, yeah, you take your 2 weeks. You need to do this. Go do your thing. I'll be here and I love you and I support you. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%.
yeah.
I think it's really interesting. You have a video, the 8-letter words, I love you.
I blink you. Yeah.
I blank you, right? I blank you, right? I've watched it several times. I'm just like, it's really interesting because in that video, the word I love you, it depends what context it's in. Like when you're having sex or you're making love, I love you, it's like dopamine. But when you're drunk, that word is different when you say I love you to somebody. That was a genius video.
Thank
Because I
you.
connected to it so much, I was like, damn, when a girl be saying she loves me, like when we're having sex or whatever, I'm just like, yo, that shit pumps you up. You know what I mean?
I feel like I'm going to hold that tighter too, though. Like for you, if a guy says he loves you in 3 months, red flag, right?
I mean, yeah, my partner waited 9 months. 9 months to say I love you. And I was like, oh my God, is this ever coming? You can't really like...
Does it matter who says it first for you? Or are you like, nah, the man needs to say it to me?
I don't know. I waited for them to say it. I think
But
for
you,
me,
you
it's
had felt it before 9 months.
yeah, and I'm sure they did too. But you want to be so fucking sure because like
Can't take it back.
you can't take it back. You can't be like, oh, sorry, I didn't mean it. Like,
Yeah.
imagine.
Nah. Once it's out.
Actually, track that.
No, you want to be so.
Yeah.
You want to be so
meant like-
sure.
Yeah, you do.
You want to be so sure. For me, I think it's important that the guy says it first, and I waited for that. So,
Is there any inspiration in your book that is not from a romantic love, like family or friends?
is there anything in the book that's not?
Like, is it a lot of it romantic, or is like your friends in your circle, the people closest to you, do they inspire you to make art as well? Or is it mostly heartbreak?
It's mostly heartbreak and grief. So it's not necessarily like romantic heartbreak. There's stuff about my childhood trauma in there that inspired most of the art you see.
I know a few people that have like a lot of trauma from their childhood, people that I'm close with. Do you think that at this point now, because I know some people that have never dealt with it and it's something that defines them
Yeah.
rather than letting it be a defining moment of change. Do you think that was hard for you to take something really hard and then champion it into, like, do you still hold on? Is it like, it seems like it doesn't define you at all.
No, it doesn't define me. I don't make my trauma my personality. It's a part of me. And I've actually worked through a lot of it. I want to say most of it. I went so fucking deep into my trauma and I wanted to make sure I understood where it was stored in my body, why I behaved the way I do, why my brain functions the way it does, why my relationship around intimacy is the way it is. There's so many factors that my trauma influenced that I needed to understand. And I went in, whether it was through intense therapy or EMDR or mushroom taking and like going on psilocybin retreats, like whatever the fuck. I went in and I did it consistently for 7 years. And it doesn't define my personality. I'm just now aware that it exists inside of me and it will always exist inside of me, but it's
Control
not,
you.
it's not my identity.
Have you ever read What Happened to You?
What?
Have you ever read the book What Happened to You? Mm-mm. It's about childhood trauma and like
Yeah.
how we all have it. And it's
Yeah.
like basically shapes us into the relationships that we have now. And we
Well,
think it's like,
it's the reframing of what's wrong with you.
yeah, pretty
right?
much. Yeah, it's like everyone's always like, what's wrong with her? What's
Yeah.
wrong with him? And it's like, that's actually the wrong question. The question should be, what happened to her?
Yeah.
What happened to him? Is there anything you regret putting out or have regretted in your art and your photography and your videos and your poetry and anything you've done in an art form? Is there anything you like, damn, I don't know if I should have?
No.
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 I love that.
I have a question for you. With all the things that you're doing, to you, what does success mean? Does success mean like being an Annie Leibovitz photographer? Or are you successful right now? What is your definition of success or what makes you feel successful?
Well, it's funny. I actually get asked this a lot, but I think success for me, I mean, there's two ways to answer this. On an emotional and spiritual level, I think I'm very successful in the way that I have navigated some of the worst things that could happen to a person and made it art. And I've given it to the world and I've released it from my body and my mind and my soul, and it's no longer mine. And I think for me to do that 10 times over is successful. It's success. And then there's the monetary side of it. To be able to make money from that, yeah, I want to say I'm successful. It's fucking awesome. I think success is subjective and everyone has different ideas of what that looks like. But for me, I think by doing the work and then giving it to the world and then having a monetary outcome from it too is like fucking
Pretty incredible.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible.
You said something interesting. You said it's important to know how to separate your ego from your being.
Yeah, that shook me.
Can you expand on that? Because I think
Where did you guys, did I write that in the book?
There's a few quotes I really would like to
Okay.
read.
Yeah. I've done a little deep dive on you.
Okay. Yeah, I've definitely said that. I just don't remember writing it.
No, you said it, and I found it profound. But I don't know. I guess I'm kind of
'cause I wanted to know.
expand on that a little bit.
Yeah.
It's important to know how to separate those two things.
Yeah. I haven't
And is
thought
ego
of-
good? Is that a healthy thing or?
Ego is a good thing. Okay, so the way I look at myself, I'll speak on behalf of me, but we all have a mind, and in my head, my mind is my ego. And your mind isn't a bad thing. It's both negative and positive. You have negative thoughts, you have positive thoughts. Your mind helps you make decisions. It is the reason why we can get up out of bed and brush our teeth and do all the things. Then we have, I believe, and a lot of people don't believe this, but we have our soul. And our soul is our highest version of ourselves. It is our spirit. It is our identity. It is our personality. It is the thing that travels when we dream. It's like, if you believe that, I believe that. And it's connected to our heart. And then we have like our physical, which is our body. So like, I think humans are divided into mind, which is ego, soul and spirit, and then the physical, which is our physical body. So I don't believe we are our mind. And Eckhart Tolle, I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but in The Power of Now, he speaks about this. He's just like, you are not your mind. You are listening to your thoughts. And I read that when I was fucking 21 or something, and it changed my world. Because he teaches you in this book how to be present and to be mindful. And to be mindful means you are able to observe and witness your thoughts without them being you. And then I know you mentioned untethered soul when we were in the kitchen earlier, but you have the roommate.
Yeah, the roommate.
And so all these guys are talking about this fucking mind that doesn't shut the fuck up, right? And that to me is your ego. Now, your ego isn't a bad thing because your ego helps you decipher what is good and bad. It helps you make decisions. It is the thing that gives us momentum. And it's also the thing that can destroy us, right? So if we are able to separate ourselves from our ego and function from our higher being, from our higher selves, and observe our ego, then intrusive thoughts won't be so bad because you're like, that's not mine. That's just a thought. Whereas if you believe you are your mind, then whatever intrusive thought you get in the day, you believe and you function with that belief, which fucks up your day, can fuck up your relationships because your intrusive thoughts are the things that make us insecure, right? If your intrusive thoughts like, hey, you look fucking fat today, you're going to go and spend your day thinking you are fat because your fucking thought told you that. You know what I mean? Whereas if you can observe it as like your higher self and be like, that's not true. That's just my ego being a nasty bitch. Like,
Holy shit, yeah, you're very successful. What? That is such a like heightened sense of awareness and thinking.
yeah.
That I think is.
But it's in the books.
Years.
It's in the books that you're reading. I learned this all
But
when I was a
reading it
kid.
and living it.
Yeah.
It's also like
Two different-
meditative practices. Like, I'm not my body, I'm not my mind. You know,
Yeah.
it's like something you gotta like recite to yourself and find a way to like find that. I think it's not easy to separate sometimes.
Yeah, it's really hard to separate, and most people don't know how to, and that's why meditation is so important. I can't meditate to save my life. I find it really hard.
It is hard. Man, I'd be sitting there like,
My mind's just racing for 5 minutes and then eventually I
Yeah.
fall asleep.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I either fall asleep or I go off into a tangent and I just let my thoughts wander, but then I'm aware that I'm doing it, and so I observe those thoughts. I think it's figuring out how to separate yourself from your ego. That is the most important thing, and the only way to do that is to become self-aware of who you are as a person, where your thoughts came from, where your behaviors came from, why you think the way you do, and the only way to do that is through therapy, in my opinion, or reading 1,000 self-help books.
Worked for me.
I agree. I think therapy has like created such a new awareness, which I think it might be the biggest superpower to have. I don't know, maybe I'm a late bloomer, but I think most of my life I've gone without an awareness, and not like to hurt anybody, or I think it just never developed. And then it had to take me grieving, it had to take heartbreak, it had to take all these things for me to like, for it to open up within me.
Yeah.
And now I'm so mindful and conscious of the decisions I'm making, how not only they affect me, but they affect other people.
Yeah.
I come from a sports background, and so much of it is about you, and it's about beating people. It's about winning. I used to tell him, I used to go in a relationship like I just wanted to win. I just want to conquer. But I completely agree with you. I think therapy is like this unlock.
Yeah.
I think it helped me realize that all the parts of me that I don't want to show anybody, those are actually really awesome parts of myself. And they're not the parts I need to hide. The parts that make me special, the parts that I should cherish. Anyone can have great stuff.
Yeah.
No, the things that I went through and that turned me into who I am now, those are just as important as all the great things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize any of those things. I didn't realize all the stuff that I went through made me resilient and made me care and passionate and want to be a good friend and be a good brother. Those are all from shitty experiences that I didn't want to think about.
But the danger to that,
Until I did therapy, I had no idea that that is Judah. Those are more important than maybe the good things.
but the danger to that is when it's weaponized against you. People can shame you for it. And I think that's where you got to know how to protect yourself against those things. Because yeah, there's ugly parts of all of us, right? And I think we've all made mistakes, and we've all hurt people we've loved, or vice versa. We've been hurt by something. And it's anger, as Ahmed said, a friend of ours, it can feel so righteous, and it can empower you when you're hurt or when you're heartbroken. And I think you got to be careful on how you use that and how you receive that.
Well, he says when the anger goes away, it's a thing you haven't dealt with, so you're actually debilitated by it.
Yeah.
The anger kept you from dealing with it. And when the anger is gone, you're just like,
Yeah.
why was I so angry? Because, I have all these things that I have to process and deal with. And it's just really hard.
Why is it the best things come from heartbreak? It's quite
They
strange.
really do, though. It's crazy.
It's quite strange. Like, feels like that's what you've kind of been saying. Like, yo, like my grieving, my heartbreak, almost I'm thankful for it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you've been able to give so much because of it.
So I think the best things come from heartbreak because when we experience our emotions, we experience them on a spectrum, right? We have the highest of highs, the euphoria, the joy, the play, the lust. We have all of the like good on one side. And then on the other side, we have the suicide attempt or the suicidal ideation, the depression, the grief, the sadness, the pain, the hardship. And all of those things at the end of the day feel the same, whether it's the extreme high or the extreme low. Our body processes it in the same way. Yeah. So when we allow ourselves to feel, then we are allowing that same physical effect, right? So whether it is the grief side or the euphoria side, our body is still having the same effect. And to be able to feel so deeply is such a blessing. And apathy destroys people. Disassociation destroys people. Anxiety destroys people because it numbs you from feeling. Compartmentalizing, all the same. Like not feeling your shit destroys you because you still carry it. It's still within you, but you don't want to access it or you don't know how to access it. So you're walking around with all of this emotion, whether it's joy or sadness or whatever, and you choosing not to feel it. So when you do feel it, when you do finally allow yourself to feel it, beautiful things come from that because to be human is to feel. To feel is to be connected, not just to yourself, but to everyone around you. Because if you can't relate to your emotions, you can't relate to anyone else. Because you don't see humans as humans with feelings. You just see them as humans. But to feel is really the most beautiful thing.
It really is.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that because I want to read a quote from one of my favorite movies. Because
Okay.
it literally encapsulates what you're saying.
Okay, let's hear it.
Have you ever seen Call Me By Your Name?
Yeah, of
It's
course.
one of my favorite movies of all
I
time.
sub every time. I sub at the end. It's so
Oh, he's
beautiful.
by the fireplace.
It's definitely my top 20. Maybe
Yeah.
it's worked its way into my top 10.
Yeah. Okay, well, we have to talk about challenges after this. But go on.
Okay.
He hasn't seen it. Have you seen it?
Yes, but please read the quote.
The dad, when he's talking to Timothy Chalamet, he goes, "We rip out so much of ourselves to be cured of things faster that we go bankrupt because of it." And he goes, "And we have less to offer each time we start with someone new." And I think that is so important because if you don't allow yourself to feel deeply, that's exactly what you're doing. You're
Yeah.
ripping out so much of yourself to be cured of this feeling.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
numbing it.
And you can't offer as much the next time you go in.
Yeah.
I feel like, opposite to you, I don't feel afraid going into my next relationship. I am actually so encouraged by what I have to offer now because I've allowed myself to feel so deeply.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like a whole different man because of it. I'm gonna be a different partner. I'm a different brother because of everything I've went through. I'm a different friend,
bro.
I'm a different friend. I'm a different son. Like me and my sister, like I haven't been this close to my sister ever. I mean, we've always been cool, but my ability to be able to connect to her, my niece and my nephews, like I'm so grateful for allowing myself to sit in this, I call it the well. Your version of darkness, I call it the well. Like, I allow myself to sit in this well of sadness and grief and I think guilt, these things, and allow myself to feel all of it and work through it.
Yeah.
And then when you pull yourself out of it, it's like you get dear love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah, amen. Praise.
I think one of the I think one of the things that was challenging for me through it, and I saw an interview with you where you talk about this, is when I went through all my stuff, it was really hard, and I was worried about the people in my life and how they would support me when I'm suicidal and don't want to see anybody and whatever. And now I look back and my circle has refined itself. And the people that anyone could be with me when movies coming out and podcasts are doing well. Who's the people that will be in the well with you? And they'll be like, I love you, care about you. I know you're going through this, but no matter what, I'm there for you.
Yeah.
And it kind of refined those people. And the people I have in my life now, I'm so grateful I went through that. Because now I have people that I'm crazy. I'm happy at times. I do crazy stuff, but I know the people that are by my side now, they're with me for the low points, the high points, and however I'm acting, they're like, I've done it. Jeremiah's like, that's Judah. When some people will be like, like, what? You just accept me for who I am. And I think when you go through those hard times, you find out who those people are that will just accept you for who you are.
Yeah.
Because at times you don't know.
It's very real. Yeah.
Have you experienced that with like lows and highs of your life with different people that maybe you thought were really close people and
I think from an early age, I learned not to rely on anyone. So a lot of my hardest moments, I was always alone, and I prefer it. But I think the biggest shift in my life and my growth is allowing community in. And I've been very intentional about building solid foundations within my friendships, that if I ever need someone and if I ever have the will to ask for help, which has been very difficult for me in the past, I know that I can rely on my friends. And it is a process, and it's one that took a lot of nurturing and cultivating. And so I think that's why this breakup this time around has actually been really beautiful, knowing that I have such a solid foundation of people around me if I need them.
And also within yourself too.
And within myself.
Right? Because I think you've talked about before those attachments to your partner, right? And you can become like, quote unquote, as you say, like a shell of a human, right? And you are not really you anymore.
Yeah.
You know, you're like obedient to this person and you're walking on eggshells, and it's kind of a relationship based on, it can be on fear and like you losing them. And man, you said something really interesting about sometimes people's form of love would be pushing you away so you can come love on them.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like that can be, I don't know, a slippery slope.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it's protest behavior. Like one of the things we do when we're anxious to get our partner's validation is to stonewall them or go quiet, or to post a hot selfie of you on Instagram so they see it and they think of you. And we do these things to get their attention and to get their validation, to get them to come back to you. And
that's like really unhealthy way to do it, though.
Yeah,
correct?
it's extremely toxic.
Like,
it's so toxic.
I was the king of that shit for a while, man. Like, no, seriously, I would stonewall like a
I've had it on the other end where I'm like, whoa, I feel so bad. Like it worked. Whatever they were trying to do, whatever form of manipulation they were doing, worked.
You know what it is? It's all fucking games.
It's all games.
And don't play games.
And don't date people who make you anxious. Like you want to date people who make you feel safe. And I think we get attached to these people because we have undealt trauma around like our own self-worth. And like we feel like we have to chase people to be rewarded and to feel like we are worthy of love. And that's not love at all. That's attachment. And I think knowing the difference is really important.
No, you speaking fast.
I need to grab my journal, right? How much do I owe you for the hour?
No, it's real though. I think knowing myself and how I've acted in relationships, I've been the guy where I would give you just enough.
Yeah.
And you would love it.
Breadcrumbs.
Breadcrumbs.
It's called breadcrumbing.
I would breadcrumb your ass. I was ratatouille in this bitch, bro. But then I would stonewall you. I'd give you a little breadcrumbs, you'd love it, you eat it up, and I'd stonewall you.
Yeah.
And then...
Because you're not emotionally available.
I'm not emotionally available. It probably was, obviously, not even probably, it was rooted in some type of insecurity of myself, and I wanted validation from my partner, and all rooted from childhood. From something. I don't know how to go back and pinpoint where quite yet. I'm still working through that.
It takes time.
But I know this now.
Yeah.
And I know I don't want to do that now. And I know like games fucking suck. Like I'm sure we've all tried coaching our friends in situations. All I tell my homies, I'm like, bro, no games, man.
Yeah.
Like if she playing games, don't play it back.
Yeah.
You know, let it.
Yeah, if you want someone who wants that, you don't want them.
You don't want it, man. You don't want the games, man. It's no fun. Nobody wins with the games.
Yeah. You know when it's right because it's just easy.
Yeah, you feel safe.
It's just easy. You like don't overthink your texts. The communication is like solid and it's just so easy, and different people will ignite different responses. So not everyone's going to feel easy. Some people will trigger you to play games. You don't want to play games. If you catch yourself doing that, this person's not for you.
Say you would get into like something new and someone pulls something out of you. How do you go about it? Just see ya? Gone?
No, I think it's knowing your triggers, grounding yourself in the facts. If someone's triggered something in you, is it them or are you triggered? And if you can get to the bottom of it, like, oh, they didn't text me back when I wanted them to, and that made me feel unsafe. Why? Especially when you're like newly dating, like ask yourself, like, why does that bother you? And are they playing games or were they just busy? Is this an old wound from when my ex didn't text me back on time? It's literally just finding the root of it and grounding yourself in the facts. Because it's so easy to create stories as to why this person didn't text you back, instead of actually being like, oh, that just triggered me because it reminded me of this time 10 years ago or whatever.
So true.
Usually attached to something from your past.
Yeah, it always is.
Yeah.
Yeah, undealt trauma manifests in such weird ways.
Do you watch a lot of love movies? I know you said you're not like a cinephile, but...
I do.
If you ever need someone, I'm sure you have a pick of your litter, but I'll be a huckleberry. I love, ask Judah, like I watch every romance movie.
They're our favorite movie.
They're my favorite too.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel so detached from movies right now, and I love TV shows more than anything. Like I just binge watched Baby Reindeer and I'm fucking obsessed.
Everybody keeps telling me about Baby Reindeer, but you've seen Challengers.
And I've seen
I've
Challenges.
not, so you can't spoil Challengers for me.
Okay, I
I'm seeing
won't
it
say
tonight.
anything, but I loved it.
Okay.
It was so beautifully shot and the story was great and it had perfect twists and turns and it was just like very clever.
She looks great.
Yes, she was amazing.
Yeah, she's so good.
But yes, I will watch movies with you. I want to watch the new Anne Hathaway one. I still haven't seen it.
I do too.
Something about, what is it called?
I don't know.
You mean Hathaway movie?
Yeah, she's dating a younger guy in it.
Really?
She's dating a 24-year-old and he's like a pop star or something.
Yeah.
She's dating him.
Plotline, interesting.
She looks like how she looked in
looks
Devil Wears
she
Prada. I
looks
was like, can I
fantastic.
have your fucking, who are you? What are you doing?
Is it okay if we ask you some questions? You can say red flag or green flag?
Yeah.
Okay,
That's
let's
fine.
hit it. Splitting the bill on the first date.
Oh, I mean, context.
He asked you to go on a date and you accepted, and then you go and he's like, all right, let's split the bill.
I think that's a red flag. But there's like reasons for it. Okay.
Yep.
If someone is asking you out on a date, they are setting the expectation that they want to treat you.
Agreed.
Right? So if they suddenly are like, oh, can we split this? It's a red flag because they're going back on their word. So how can you trust someone who's literally invited you out to this experience and then wanting to share it with you, but then wanting to split it with you?
If a girl asks you on a date, then you split.
Yeah.
Right? You never let the girl pay for the whole thing, right?
No.
I mean, this is where super feminists will be like, oh, I'm happy to split. I actually don't want to split. I don't. If you're asking me out on a date, you're paying.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's one thing if you're like
So red.
Yeah.
cooking at the house.
Red.
It's one thing if you're like you're cooking and she's like, oh, I'm gonna grab the groceries.
And also,
like,
well, if you want this relationship to be something eventually, you're setting up trust that that person isn't going to just like snowball you.
Or like you said,
surprise
like go back on your word.
If they're like,
Deeper-rooted
hey, I'd
thing.
love to take you out to dinner. So you go out to dinner and then they're like, can you pull your card? Like, what the fuck? That's like
Yeah.
immediate betrayal. How could you trust someone like that? That's crazy.
Oh, it's a red card. Yeah, it's good.
what about opening the car door?
I love a gentleman.
Agreed.
Yeah.
For some
it's
reason
fine.
I did.
It's not dead. I have even my guy friends do that for me.
Yeah.
I expect that.
Facts.
There's nothing wrong with it.
Super close with their mom.
Love it.
People say that's a red flag.
I'm a mama's boy. It is what
I
it
am
is,
too.
man.
I think having a good relationship with your mom is key.
Yeah.
Okay, I talk to my mom every day. Red flag, green flag.
I don't know. I wouldn't judge someone based on that. I think that's weird to judge someone based on that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think your family is the number one. Your mom should be the most important person in your life. She literally gave you life. Yeah, I don't think that's a red flag.
Great.
And also, my mom wishes me good night every night. And
Does she?
is that a red flag if I say good night to my mom? Like, I
My
don't
mom
think it's
calls
weird.
me an hour ago, my mom called me.
If you
every
treat your
morning.
mom badly and I hear you being rude to your mom, that's a red flag.
Major.
Red flag or green flag. They give you a pet name within 3 months.
Could be classified as love bombing, but also depends on the context.
This whole love bombing thing, this is a new thing, huh?
No, it's not.
No?
No, but you just don't trust someone who comes on too strong too quickly. If someone's like, I want to have your babies on the first date, like that's fucking crazy.
I've had that.
I've had
I
that
had that
too.
recently.
I've had that often actually.
Yeah.
A girl recently was like, yo, she's in her late 20s. She's like, will you just be my baby daddy already and let's like have kids? And I was like, whoa, it was a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it was a red flag.
Yeah.
It pumped you up though.
Ego fed
See?
slightly, but
slightly.
would I jump into it from my history of learning from mistakes? No, I would not.
No.
But it was still interesting.
Artist by trade. Red flag, green flag.
I know I said never date one, but I'm joking. I think every single individual is different. Why don't we talk about green flags? Because green flags are, for me, people who... So let's say you go on a first date. A green flag is someone who is intrigued by you and asks you questions and they're not surface level. Because I noticed with some of my friends who are dating right now that the guys they're going on dates with don't ask them questions and they have to like carry the conversation. And I'm like, that's so boring. And that shows me that they don't actually like have any interest in who you are as a person. So I think a green flag is people who ask you questions and don't rely on you to ask all the questions.
Yeah, or just to share that without being prompted too.
Yeah.
And how are your friends coming across the men they're going on dates with? Is it through
Through apps and in real life, yeah.
How do you feel about apps?
I don't care about them. They're fine. They're good if you are introverted, good in winter.
Good in winter is
Yeah.
Good in winter is crazy.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with them. I met my previous partner on Hinge, so yeah.
I haven't really had any success on apps, but I think it's for some people and it's not for some people. You
Yeah.
know? I think I'm just all about the wild now. I want to meet you out in the wild.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very
I don't
important.
think I've seen you out in the wild though.
The way you phrase that is so good.
Well,
I've never seen you out in the wild.
which is interesting because we have mutual friends.
Yeah, I also was in a relationship for 3 years, so I was kind
there
of
you
like
go.
doing my own thing. But
How do you select your candidates for?
for dating,
No. Well, we'll get to that next maybe. But go
oh my god, I'm dead.
for your art. Like, do you have muses? Like this guy, this girl is your muse, and that's how you kind of choose who you want to.
It's always been really organic. I have people that I'll like see and I'll like save their photo. I'm like, oh, they have an interesting vibe. But in the past, they've either DM'd me or I've DM'd them. So like Dylan Sprouse DM'd me. Noah DM'd me not to work together. He was just following me. But then I was like, hey, let's shoot. And then so like it was always through DMs, honestly.
Really?
Yeah. Or like friends of friends and like wanting an introduction because I really liked this person as a talent or actor or whatever.
Do you have like a line of people now? Like, yeah, I can imagine. I bet it's like
My next
you have a
series-
queue of people waiting.
Add me to it.
My next series is, I'm not going to say what it is, but I have 24 people I really want to shoot.
I can
Amazing.
imagine.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
So what are your next things? What's the next step of things you're working on? You were in New York, you said you were shooting. What was
No, I wasn't shooting in New York. I was writing.
writing?
Have a TV show in the works, but I can't say anything else. And then I have an art series, which will probably take up most of my time once we have all the financing we need. And then what else? And then I'm just doing like commercials and stuff.
Directing?
Yeah.
That's exciting.
Yeah.
For someone who wants to follow in your footsteps, what advice, how would you encourage them to not necessarily be the next Sarah?
Yeah, what would you tell
But-
some 20-year-old girl that like wants to express herself for their art?
I always say the same thing, and it will always be the thing that I say. Write your story, tell your story, and don't focus on what other people are doing. Don't create based on what you think people want to see. Create based on what you have to say. And that's really it. Like, as long as you stay authentic to yourself and your process and your story, and you find a unique way to tell that story, then you're going to be fine.
Great answer.
What do you like to do outside of your work?
What do I do?
Yeah, put on vinyl records and
So I have a house, and I'm not going to say where, but I have a house. Everyone, this is my address. And I just renovated it because I am such a homebody and I wanted to have a house that reflects my personality. And I host people all the time. I love hosting. I love having elaborate dinner parties where I pick the hardest recipe and I spend 3 days making it.
I've been to one of your dinner parties
You have?
once upon a time.
Which one?
It was a long time ago. I lived really close to you, so I walked there. I don't know. Anyways, yeah, just flashback.
Was
yeah.
it in an apartment?
No, it was a home.
Was it in Los Feliz? No.
Nope, it was West Hollywood.
West Hollywood?
Like in the flats between Beverly and Melrose. Like,
Oh, was it my birthday?
might have been your birthday.
Yeah, that makes sense. It wasn't my house. But
Oh,
yeah.
okay. Gunnar and Matt Wing invited me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, I remember. That was 2017.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like 2017. Yeah. It was, damn, really?
That was a fun party.
Yeah.
That wasn't a dinner party, but it was fun.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I don't remember.
No,
eating
because
either.
I remember your eyes like so vividly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I feel like they're like a superpower of yours.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Very sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love
No, they
having,
are. Those fucking eyes are incredible.
I love having dinner parties. Yeah.
They're like one of the best things ever.
Yeah, and I love, oh my gosh, what else do I love doing? I'm going to Joshua Tree tomorrow because Polo and Pan are playing. So we're going to take some psychedelics and have a fucking dance party at Pappy and Harriet's. So
That
like,
sounds so fun.
I like doing that. Next week, I'm going to Mexico City because my friend convinced me. Like, I just love traveling.
Have you been to Mexico City before?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone, it's like their favorite city.
Yeah.
There's a restaurant there called Lado Cena.
Okay.
If you've not been, it's incredible.
Okay.
One of my favorite restaurants in the world.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Again, if you want to watch the full episode, click the link down below to watch the Patreon, and we'll see you guys next time. We hope you enjoyed this episode of In Good Company.
If you're enjoying this show, it would mean the world to us if you left a 5-star review. You know we love 5-star reviews, and subscribe to the pod.
This is a reminder, if you want to watch our episodes, you can do so only by subscribing to our Patreon, where you also get access to the menu and some fun announcements we have coming up.
And don't forget,
The only thing better than good food is good company.